maintain your engagement by how you treat people during this period.
Yes.
You know, you have to make employees know that we are in this together.
Together.
So don't be jumping quickly to lay off and reducing salary unless you really have to. Because when this is over, you need to have that level of engagement. How is all of this going to affect staff engagement during Corona and after Corona? It is how we treat the employees now. Because, you know, there are some in the hotel industry, they're laying off people. And this is when people need a little income to look about their family. And so we have to be more caring. It's a time for caring in a balanced way because, you know, the business has to be profitable. But don't jump for laying off and, you know, yeah. So I was trying to let them know this is an opportunity for some social investment in the people.
In the people, and it's not an opportunity for you to get rid of those whom you have wanted to get, rid of a long time ago.
Yes.
And here's your opportunity to show them that there's a face to you as an employer. Yeah, there's a heart. Yeah, there's an emotion to you.
You're right. Because it's really rough. One of the ways it's going to affect staff engagement is persons are nervous now about job security. Because, you know, and this is real, you know. I know of people in the hotel industry that they have laid off since Friday.
Yes.
I mean, that's rough.
Yeah.
Let me just ask a question quickly. What do you think about the organizations offering a pay cut in terms of asking the employees to accept a pay cut throughout this time?
Well, what happened? I am further looking at it, and as it, let's see how it unfolds. But as it deepens, business is going to make business decisions. Persons are working remotely now, so maybe you could do it gradually, move down to 50%. Hope to God it gets better. And if it don't, then we may be looking at some unpaid leave situation, but that's down the road, not right now.
It's time to let people feel secure in their job situation. Wherein I know I will go back to my job. I have a job when this is over.
Yes.
I think outside of that. Hi, morning everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Milan from cohort 6, enjoying the conversation. But just to add that engagement piece is so important because right now this is an opportunity for leadership. We've been speaking about HR becoming a part of that table. So even in guiding the decisions that are being made, is HR really involved in that type of decision making? We talk about people being valued. Do our employees feel valued by the action that we take? Because if it is that we do not handle the situation properly, there is no conversation about engagement after this. We talk about being in a crisis, letting us know when you are in a bad situation, who are the people with you and who are the people who are not with you. If we show our staff right now that we are not with you based on the decisions that we need,
trust me,
when we come back, we can't engage them. They remember how you let them feel. Simple questions.
People never forget how you let them feel. Yeah.
So nobody asked me to go the extra man.
And then
for example,
there'll be no let us. There's no let us do this, let us do that. Oh no, that is out of the conversation completely.
Right, because even if you're speaking about job cuts, not job cuts or even pay cuts, it also depends on what kind of messaging that we're taking, what kind of messaging we're having. Because if we're having the right messaging, people will understand that we're doing this for you, and you at the top also have to show. I'm sorry. You at the top also have to show that you are willing to take that job, that pay cut, if that is the situation.
Right.
But simple things, it starts from the simple things. So for example, school was let out on holiday. Have you asked your staff, how are they dealing with that? How are they managing with that? It's a very delicate situation. It's almost like persons want you to pretend that everything is okay and it is business as usual. But it isn't really business as usual. So how do you walk that fine line between, yes, we want you to be normal, but this is not a normal situation. And so in doing that, sometimes in trying for us to be normal, we forget about the human part and neglect the little things that would make a difference. So for example, I'm at home. I don't believe my boss has called me one day to say, how is it that things are working from home, but you'll deliver instructions, and it doesn't mean that the person doesn't care. But when you speak about even the 5 love languages or the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace and building relationships, now is the time for you to be doing all of those things in the midst of it to show it's not just me.
It's an extraordinary time now. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, you're right about getting instructions. The only instructions you get this end, because we're actually virtually teaching from home, right? And the only instruction you get is the one that comes from the board, you know, and nothing else. Nobody reaching out to say, you know, how is it going? How is so and so? How are you bonding with your kids? I actually call my kids who are in delicate situations. I call their parents. You know, you have to act according to the Georgia professional ethics. So I call their parents, talk to their parents, and say, may I speak to the student? You know, and if she says yes, because she has a right to say no also.
That is a good protocol.
Yeah.
So, and it's so true that, and that's a good thing that you're doing, because even here we're talking about homeschooling. Internet penetration in Jamaica is 55%. How many people really have laptops? How many have internet? How many have parents who probably can help them with their schoolwork? We're probably fortunate to be able to help our children, but there are those who really cannot, and we're forging ahead. Yes, homeschooling is good, but how many persons really can homeschool?
Yes.
How effective could it be? How effective could it really be?
Yeah,
even
Comcast has stepped up and given everybody 60 days free internet. Yeah, at a very fast speed, or the fastest speed. And you have other partners who have stepped in to give some,
I've heard
support.
Yeah, JTA is asking Flo if they could give some data to the teachers, you know, so I hope they respond favorably.
Yes, we shouldn't have to ask at a time like this. You have to take extraordinary measures. We shouldn't have to ask. I'm talking about we in Jamaica here.
Yes.
You know, we shouldn't have to ask. They should step up and see, just like Dr. Crick said this morning, how can we help at a time like this and be authentic about it? You know, it's not same thing, different day. No, we are in a pandemic and we have to step up and support each other.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, I just relaying. I spoke with Dr. Stirling. He's on his way. He forgot. He forgot. So he said he just needed 5 minutes. So he should be here any minute now, because that was obviously over 5 minutes ago. So Dr. Stirling will join us shortly. But this conversation is fascinating. So I'm recording it so that no, it is. It's fascinating. It's telling our experiences, and Dr. Stirling is here, but it is telling our experiences, and we're getting best practices, because, for instance, I have been too busy to hear that Comcast was giving free internet. So, you know, that might be something that some of us can tell our friends so that they can do, well, Flo or Digital can do something for us in Jamaica.
Olivine, I think this has been a very good opportunity for a dry run for the business continuity planning organization, because many of us have written those plans and have them on the shelf. So we have had to pull it out now, because when in that particular case, we had to go back in to try to define essential jobs, to assess the level of risk, what was high risk, what was low risk and medium, so that we would know, I mean, the persons who must come in and to go out. This is something we have in writing, a business continuity plan. So we're getting a dry run now. And after Corona, business will not be the same. And companies will have to respond accordingly, you know. The whole thing of teleworking will probably, we have to look very carefully. How could we make it smoother next time? Because there are going to be other situations like this down the road, you know.
In fact, you know, I was reflecting on it last night. I have been working from home from Tuesday, And the
Yes.
truth is, I believe that the University of the West Indies has got more out of me since Tuesday, because I found that my hours are actually longer, but I don't mind it because I don't feel the stress. I don't have the constant phone calls and all of that. So I found myself certainly, well, yesterday might have been unusual because I was preparing for today, but I found myself, I was working from 7 o'clock yesterday morning until after midnight last night.
And for those of us who have to travel on the road, we saw the traffic congestion.
Yes. Well, I have gone over to the university. I went over to the university from Monday to Wednesday. And yes, there is nobody on the road getting there, and then there's nobody there. So you find yourself, I don't know, for me, actually, I think I'm one of those persons who is stressed out by having too many people around me. So I'm probably doing better at this time than I would have. But again, you know, something it also says to me is that we also have to pay attention to the fact we have different people in the organization. So it will not be not one size fits all, but not one remedy for everybody. And so we have to be flexible and understand that. That is something we'll see right now. Because again, as I say, some people are sad, some people are alone, and I am defiant. So you have different responses to the same situation, you know? So, all right, I don't know if Dr. Stirling is ready. I've seen that Dr. Stirling has joined us.
I'm here. You can see me?
No, you have to bring your video on.
I turn off my video. You can see me now?
Yes, we can see you now. If you could just move so we can't see, we're seeing the top of your face. We're not seeing your chin. Okay, yes.
You seeing all of me now?
No.
All right.
Oh, yes.
You're seeing all of me now.
That is good, yes.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah.
All right, so as I said, this is a continuation of our first restoration quest, and we have our second speaker here, Dr. Patrick Stirling. He's a human resources professional, and he is positioning HR as a business partner for excellence for acquisition, startup, and high growth organizations in telecommunications, marketing, manufacturing, and distribution. Right now, Dr. Stirling is the Group Human Resource and Industrial Relations Manager at Seprod Group Limited, and he's been there for some time. Dr. Stirling is also a lecturer at the University of the West Indies in the MSc Human Resource Development program. Dr. Stirling is one of our highest rated lecturers. Yes, Dr. Stirling, the students, when they do their evaluations, give him excellent reviews. And one of the things that I have noticed is that I think for the last 3 years, Dr. Stirling is one of only 2 lecturers who has turned up to stand with the students in their graduation. I am very, very impressed by that he would take time out of his extraordinarily busy schedule to just give the students the send-off that they deserve, because they've worked hard. I can tell you, the MSc HRD program is a grueling program. And obviously we think it is one of the best. Other people may challenge that view, but they would have to come good to challenge that.
No challenge.
But Dr. Stirling is definitely one of the lecturers who is helping us to improve our brand. So we're delighted to have him here this morning. I asked him to speak about compensation. I am not sure the take he's going to take on it, but as I said, these will be conversations, academic conversations to inspire, to inform, to stimulate thought. So I'm sure that Dr. Stirling is going to do all of that for us, but our agenda is loose. We will listen to the words of wisdom from Dr. Patrick Stirling. So please help me to welcome him.
Thank you very much. I hope I don't disappoint.
Not at all.
Right. So I speak from the standpoint of HR business partnering and to support the business for sustainability through a crisis, and then for business continuity. So in keeping with the remit of the role of human resources, you take care of your people. You want to ensure that during the crisis or during any crisis, as we have had crises before, We've had to prepare for hurricanes. The aim of the game is to ensure that we account for all our staff and that everyone understands his or her role in ensuring that what we invest our time and our talents in can be sustainable for the long run, because the crisis will pass and we need to stay in business.
Yes.
Beyond just focusing on the staff, though, is the extent to which the HR practitioner assists the leadership to ensure we maintain our investments, to ensure that we keep our stakeholders generally and our shareholders in particular confident, or customers confident that we can weather the situation and remain in business to serve them. All right. Coming closer home, from a compensation standpoint, we have to determine whether and to what extent we can keep people employed, because you're operating in a situation where, and certainly in my situation at Separate, where we are learning that a number of companies are closing down. So we have had to be balancing expectations among the employees and between the unions and their members, and then again between the management and the employees. So we are now having to look at which of our operations can remain for the long haul, Separate being one of the suppliers to the nation, and we're expected to remain open for as long as possible to supply the nation. Can we realistically do that? And to the extent that we are able to do, that is to remain open, can we realistically maintain our current staffing? That's a challenge. And so right now we're, from a compensation standpoint, putting in a people plan to ensure business continuity. So what's our total headcount in each of the areas? All right, so who are the persons we are going to be needing now? Do we need the entire staff complement to be working now? Can we have persons telecommuting, working remotely? And if things get worse, where businesses are closing, hotels are closing, customers can't buy your goods, do we need to be laying off people? And that's from the layoff standpoint, that's the absolutely last resort. But are there persons with vacation leave? Our attorneys are reminding us that we can't impose vacation leave on persons. People have to opt to take vacation leave so they can be paid. But we have to determine how we're going to manage all of that and keep people compensated for as long as we can. And there are some persons who are having to work extra hours, or medical staff, for example, who have had to go into different locations and screening persons. They're asking us, should we be incentivized for the longer than normal hours? Should we be? Because we can't take a break. We have to ensure that we screen the people and provide update to the organization from a medical standpoint so we can know what to do. Those are, again, questions that we need to answer, because those things, many of the things come upon us without a plan. Because this crisis in particular is unlike no other.
Unprecedented.
It's unprecedented. You know there's a crisis, but you can't pinpoint a date, a time, a period. You just something is around you. Unlike a hurricane, you know, it's a time, a period, you can forecast and plan. This one, we have to plan and forecast in the event of and whatever eventuality. So that's what I would say in a nutshell. We have to keep the staff motivated. We have to schedule our people to ensure we can have business continuity. And then beyond that, to work with the unions to ensure that we have sustainability and that their members can cooperate with us in whatever change there is. For example, overtime pay. We are determined that if we are going to remain in business, we have to cut costs, because not as many customers are going to be able to buy from you. So can we sustain the high levels of overtime while at the same time keep the hours to ensure we produce? Overtime is something we have to cut, and many staff look forward to overtime, but we have to now reduce the hours to ensure that we can remain in business and to pay people. That's the important thing. Right. So quite a bit of a conversation, quite a bit of communication, setting expectations so people can know what's going on. and are able to see eye to eye with us, even as we try to survive the current crisis. I don't know if there's any question or clarification. Yeah.
Well, Mr.
Go ahead, Janita.
Stirling, good to see you. Jen Townsend here,
Hi,
and to
Jen.
know that you're holding separate together.
Yeah, we're trying as a team.
Yeah, a good presentation. What I wanted to talk about, as you spoke about that, the the absolute importance of communication, staff communication at this time, because people are rational beings.
Yes.
And sometimes when management have these tough decisions, especially on the people side of it, where it might have to be moving from full pay to 50% to eventually no pay, giving them the option to take paid vacation leave going into unpaid. If the cutting of the overtime, if we bring the staff in and explain to them what's happening, they are feeling it and they are seeing it. It can be less.
Yes, I agree with you.
The whole change management is so critical here, so we don't get fallout between management and employee, because we need to, after Corona, we need to have their commitment to go forward. So how you treat them during this period is very critical. And rich companies like Seprod, can probably stock up some of this for a while and really make it. It must really get bad for you to be saying you're going to cut, cut pay, even go down to 50%, so people will have something to look about their family.
Yes. Well, we are trying, and you're so right.
With the staff.
Yeah, we are trying. In the first instance, our communication is that we are open for business. That's our communication. We're open for business because we don't want to inspire anxiety or doubt or fear among the employees. So we say we're open for business, which means everyone is on board. While we are saying that to the employees, we are trying to find creative ways not to waste a good crisis. So how creative can we? Yes. How can we, in a creative way, keep them employed? And you mentioned 50% pay or 30% pay or lay off for 2 weeks and come back. All of those things are now currently being discussed.
Yes, mixture permutations like those.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's something else I thought I don't want to forget, not to waste a good crisis. There, coming out of this will be new ways of working. Can we realize from this the value of working remotely and the value it can create for the long term? Do we always need to have people working in the office?
Yeah, we were talking about that before you came.
Right. New ways of working. Also, this part of it, many people will not want to hear, but you are going to find out that some people on your team are not as committed as you thought they were. So you're trying to, they're not as flexible.
Right.
And you realize now who really are your team players. So when we come out of this, do you really want to keep those people on board going forward?
Absolutely.
Yes. So a lot of learning. This morning, all of last weekend, we as a management team, we worked the phones, pulling information, communicating in the media, just talking. So I worked all through last weekend. Today, I'm working through looking at numbers. How many people are out on suspected cases? How many people are quarantined? How many people traveled? And we are giving a ball by ball, day by day account of that to ensure that we stay on top of our numbers so we know what next to do.
Dr. Stirling, I have question and comments together. I know you're in the, you're the head of the HR. How are you bringing in the unions with this?
Oh, great. Thank you very much for that. So we've written to the unions and we have said to them, in light of the current circumstance, here are the things that we are doing. So we're telling you from now, here are the things we're doing. One of the critical things we've been trying to implement is a flexi work arrangements. In keeping with the legislation of 2014, we have not been able to roll it out because when we started discussing with the unions, the NWU and the UKs are the two ones we deal with right now. The fear among certain segments of their members is that they're going to be losing out. And so they're going through a lot of gymnastics to say, okay, give us your numbers from 2 years ago of what your total cost for overtime has been, the total hours. And we are spending time to go through a lot of debates, feet dragging. We've had to take the bull by the horns this week, Monday, the 16th of March. And we have said to the unions, we have no choice. Capstone, we are open for business. We are keeping our people employed. To keep our people employed, we have to employ creative ways to reschedule. Flexi time is one of those. We are saying no. As of now, we are going to start that scheduling. Now, one of the key union officers this week, man of national prominence, called me, acknowledging receipt of the letter and saying to me, I was so shocked, saying to me, okay, whatever the companies need to do to stay in business, go ahead. At the end of this, we will review your approach to flexi time. I was so shocked. So there's a buy-in. I spoke to UK's yesterday. They say, yes, whatever you're doing, go ahead. But at the end of it, we'll review. So guess what? All of last night, I'm saying to myself, don't waste this crisis, because you have to show that flexi time works for you. And you have to create a case study out of it for academia, a case study for others to look at. Don't waste it. Think through, get help, talk about it, implement it, and make it be a pattern. So this weekend I'm trying to pull together my whole thoughts, and I would resolve to go back on Monday morning to make sure we lay it down. The union's coming to one of our locations on Tuesday to meet with the members, because there are some members who are still adamant that they won't do it. Unions coming to talk to them, because guess what? Sorry to take up your time.
No, this is interesting.
The unions, let me tell you something. None of us, our credibility, all our collective credibility is on the line. The unions can't come out of this looking back to say that they have held back and held back progress. We can't come out of this for people to be criticized that we didn't cooperate and work with the unions. All of us are going to be looked at and analyzed in terms of how you handled this crisis. It's going to be a case study. I tell you, it's going to be something to be studied and to be looked at going forward. I tell you.
And out of this gonna come a lot of things that we're going to see that were unnecessary, that are necessary. And we've been talking about flexi time for years. We've been talking about flexi time, and it is being held back by you know who. So now is the time. Take advantage of COVID-19.
Yes, I agree with you. So that's my real experience.
I wanted to make two little points. One, I'm sure Orville Taylor would shoot us if we didn't say that he was the person who is the architect behind the whole flexi time laws here in Jamaica. Orville Taylor, the head of department, sociology, psychology, social work, a lecturer in the HRD master's program. So that is one thing. But two, I'm also thinking that this thing about the layoff. Dr. Stirling mentioned layoff for 2 weeks and then bringing back. For me, it raises questions that we're talking also about contract work and how is that in the Jamaican system. People are calling, certainly for the HRD unit and for other people, to lobby that we move against people being on contract for extended periods of time without benefits. Because I was just thinking, when Dr. Stirling says lay people off for 2 weeks and then bring them back, does that affect benefits? Or is it that you're not doing benefits because they're on these contracts? So, what is the situation there?
Well, layoff, thank you for that question. Layoff is just 2 weeks is just a minimum.
Yes.
Layoff so you can plan and strategize. It has to be long term. So it's going to be between 1 month and the 120 days that the labelers allow. And layoff, as you know, simply means that no one gets paid at all. But in between a possible layoff, for say 2 weeks or on a 120 days, there are things that we can put in place. As you mentioned, 50% salary, or pay only the incentives, pay the vacation, but don't pay the basic pay. Different permutations along that continuum based on your location and your situation. In relation to contract work, we are looking at seeing how best we can manage those contracts. Do we terminate the contracts? We've had to terminate 1 or 2 so far, because the type of work that they are doing is not critical to making milk or flour. So for example, we have a project through NEPA looking at the environment, assessing some environmental details. And we have somebody doing that. We're saying, okay, we can talk to NEPA to extend the time when we report. but we have to end this contract because right now we need all hands on deck for the operation in other areas. We have other contractors, we have some relief work. People are filling in for people here and there. How can we get those skills into other people doing those other skills and reduce the contract work? Because part of it is to manage your costs while you seek to keep as many people permanently employed as you can.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't finalized all of those, but those are just discussions to come to a landing.
Yes. Dr. Stirling, do you think at a time as this, we could call for a suspension of these collective agreements?
That's going to take some debate. It certainly can be done remotely. If you suspend collective agreements, and again, depends on what's in them. If they're as complex as ours, they can be suspended.
I don't think the unions will go with it.
And the unions are going to really push back hard on anything that benefits their members.
Mm-hmm.
And if
no,
it's going to be difficult. It could maybe elements of them, but not the collective agreement.
Agreement. Okay.
It's going to be difficult because it's like, for example, salaries. Let's say you talk about overtime. Certain allowances are triggered by your salary. Triggered by your salary. If you cut salary, already you're impacting allowances. If you cut out certain allowance, I can hear the union saying, okay, put a hold on it, but then pay it back to me retroactively or pay it back to me.
I see.
That's going to be the expectation, but I can't lose it. I can take a break so you can get back on your feet. The only way to suspend the collective agreement is to lay off the people.
Yes.
That's an automatic thing without saying you're suspending it. So, but it can't be unionized employees you lay off. It must be everybody, including unionized people, get laid off.
Yes, of
course. You won't get any pay or anything, and that already would suspend all of those things you get on a monthly basis. That's the only way it could happen without zeroing in on that in particular.
And Dr. Stirling, we have to, big companies like yourself have to take this very responsible
role,
because when you, for example, lay off and all of that, how it affects the economy, there is going to be this terrible slowing down, almost shutting down of the economy. People cannot sustain themselves. So, I'm happy the kind of things I'm hearing coming out of big companies like Sepra, that you try to keep it going in the best way. Because the mindset for this is it cannot be recession and crisis and crumbling in.
Certainly not.
Live through it,
and that
economy, and life and survival, and keep people mind at a particular place. A question I want to ask, I know people are going off, the anxiety and the stress that employees are feeling. HR now is indeed a strategic partner. Are you trying to deal with any of that? I know you usually have a little counseling service because people are facing some tough, the anxiety. People have preconditions in terms of their mental state. Are you dealing with that?
All right. So we have no specific individual or situation that we're focusing on. We have been encouraging dialogue within departments in terms of what will happen in the coming days. For example, I met with my HR unit and I said, guys, here's a lay off the land. We provide support to all the business. So at a point in time, let us know what's going on with you.
In your personal space,
Are people feeling sick? Are people feeling anxious? But we haven't taken that full psychological welfare type approach. Most of it is about communicating to avoid anxiety.
Yes.
Because we don't want, for example, we don't want to start talk about layoff. Our capstone is that we are open for business. And to the extent that we can keep open, we're asking you to work with us. If we have to shift focus to work from home or work remotely, work with us. We're open for business. People want to hear that because people have, I think the financial anxiety is the greatest one.
Yes.
So, but yes, that's something we should consider. Bring someone in to speak about, to help start deal with anxiety. Because fear, it seems, gripping a lot of people right now.
Yeah.
Fear.
And it is real.
Yeah.
Yes, people, yeah.
Very good conversation. Just to add here that maybe there is an opportunity to look at the employee assistance program as an option. So for example, where I work, there's an employee assistance program. So one of the suggestions I've made is to remind persons that it exists. And of course, probably to check, for example, with Family Life Ministries or to give them options.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a second question, recompensate. Well, a question on recompensation. Persons are now being required to work from home. Working from home would mean a new cost to the employee because now I'm looking at using my internet service. I'm looking at light, where the organization would have provided lunch for me. Now I have to provide lunch for myself. Has those questions come into play, and have you started to think about what kind of policy or what will be put in place to address that at this time?
All right. So we have not looked as deeply into cost to employee. We have given each employee a tool, laptop. We've given them VPN access, and we have put in place a policy of some guidelines in terms of what's expected on a given day in terms of deliverables, and they sign off. But working from home is not fully working from home without supervision. Working from home also requires that at different points within a given week, you work 2 days from home and you report into the office. Right. Each employee has lunch tickets that are not only tenable at work, but there are at least 3 outlets in Kingston and other places that the lunch tickets are also tenable. Right? Look at the win-win in all of it. Yeah. You can't tell me about light bill and water rate because guess what? Light bill and other utilities, sorry. Because guess what? You're on your own time. You have my equipment. You're doing your own thing as well. And so if I were to pull all those costs together, tell me about utilities. Look at what I give you. I give you so much. And at the end of the day, if you're going to charge me for utility, look at the number of things I would also charge you for. So it does not come to that. We look mainly at what are the deliverables and how you're working remotely will add value to the business still. Because if it's not working, if you're being at home, not giving us the kind of value, we ask you to come in, bring back equipment and come in. So you have to show, and you have to say to me, working from home is going to create this problem for me. So I can't sign the policy because the policy is there for them to sign. Whether working from home or remotely is going to be advantageous to both employer and employer. So, but I haven't heard a discussion about any cost to me because I'm working from home. You know, I don't know if I've answered the question.
Yes,
can I weigh in on that? Go ahead. Can I weigh in on that working from home? I've been here a week now, and I do my lessons Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays so the kids can see that. But one of the benefits that I actually get from working from home is that I'm not on my feet 10 hours.
Not at all. Not at all.
Right? And there are some things that they're just priceless.
Yes.
I would rather be at home, not walking, for 10 hours, and I mean literally 10 hours per day, you know, and having to go to the doctor and having to do this. I can get things done. It gives me a chance to think of what my plans are. You know, how many benefits that I get from this. So I'm not even thinking about light, water, that sort of thing. No, because just being able to keep my health and eat properly, and I don't have to eat with the kids. I have free lunch.
Well, if I tell you, last week I was in my garden on a conference call. The earphone was in my earphones were in my ears. The phone was in my pocket, and I had a wheelbarrow to run through the yard, and I was on a conference call making decisions.
Yes.
So it's a win-win, and I felt so relaxed. I felt so relaxed doing it. So an employer would have to really say, listen, working from home is going to be so disadvantageous for me that I can't do it. Okay, if you can't do it, come into the office and work, if that's the case. But we haven't gotten a push.
Yeah,
but
we will not go there either because
not at all.
Nobody's gonna win in
not
that
at all.
to go there.
Not at all. Not at all. I can't hear somebody speaking.
Bless you. And I agree with you, of course.
All right, I just wanted to, earlier, Dr. Stirling had mentioned that, this is the time when you know who the people are on your team. And we were talking about the unions. And one of the points I wanted to make is that in truth, our relationship with unions hasn't been all that adversarial for decades. Unions now understand that they have a vested interest in seeing that the company is served as well as the employees. So, it shouldn't be a surprise to us when unions are willing to experiment positively in this time,
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree with you because we are all learning out of this. And I agree with you, the adversarial approach is no longer there. But so I think while the union leadership is seized of this reality where there's no longer the need for adversarialism, some members are still living in the past, I can tell you. There are people who are accustomed to that in some places, and they want the kind of caustic, headbutting situation to prove a point than just to work cooperatively.
And they thrive on that,
And they thrive on it.
They thrive on it because there's
a need
for something else in their lives.
I'm telling you. So you have to kind of balance all those two expectations. This week I could write a whole lecture out of my experiences in the last 5 days between Monday and Friday. One whole lecture.
Rich experience.
Yes. Just so many things I learned about union which I've never seen in a book. I couldn't believe it.
Priceless.
I hope you're recording all of this,
I am recording it, but I also want to mention that we had planned to launch our journal. We had thought to have a conference during this weekend, which is why I knew that people would have been available. But we had planned to take the papers that were presented in the conference and have them launch our journal of human resource development and organizational behavior.
Yes.
And of course, we're still inviting submissions. So the work what you have learned is case study. I mean, I think it would be a good thing for us to even have some case studies. So this would be an excellent case study that I'm inviting Dr. Stirling to write up for us,
HR during Corona and after and post Corona, Corona, something like that would be, that experience would be good.
Yes, and of course, people like to talk about who has old data. That would certainly be current and new and relevant and novel. There's no way you can hide that.
But as I listen to Dr. Stirling, he is at the top end of the HR practice because it's a big company. They have resources. I wonder what's happening in the medium and the small companies, They are forced into taking some harder decisions. And I see Hermage has been trying to get HR practitioners around the table so that we could have some common good practices. Because if you don't do it right, as we said, you really could have such a fallout of post-corona, So I don't know how some of and this is where, if we get the information, I've learned quite a bit from talking to him because I give consultancy to medium-sized firms. Some of these things that they could do and avoid falling out badly during this period between the employer and the employees. Don't know how we can do it. Hermage probably has a role to play in that.
Well, there's a large
in addition to that, Janita, small and medium-sized companies may not be able to hold it together like a separate. There's
definitely, that's it. So their strategy may be a little different, yes.
Yeah. Well, there's a sharing of information. I'm in a group now of HR professionals across government, small and large and medium-sized enterprises, and we share information. And a lot of what people experience, whether you're big or small, the people issues seem to be the same. And the expectations of your principals seem to be the same. A small company, for example, the Zipline in Ocherus.
Zipline.
That's Zipline. I don't remember the name of the company. This week, they laid off their employees on at least a full month's pay in the first instance.
That's good.
And there are other places that lay off people on half pay.
Half pay.
I know of other properties. Zero, like so the Rio hotels and like the Cameron.
Yeah,
they close.
Yes.
They close on properties. So the HR experience in those areas now will be different. You just close it down. Because if bookings are being cancelled, you can't remain open. So it's a matter of a close down. There's hardly any creative way, unless you're saying that we close it down and we give the employees half pay or 1 week pay or whatever. Most of what I'm hearing is that we close down and people are gone home. In fact, I heard a very chilling one this week. A senior manager in a certain space, small company, just lost their job. So listen, we have to close and we have to terminate. So all of the financial obligations, the mortgage, children's school fee, we have to close. We can't pretend as if we can remain closed and still pay you. So the experience is cut across, as you say, all sectors. Then at a point, I expect someone will say, whether you're large or small, do we need so many HR people? All them people do we need all the HR people? Can we just run this factory without an HR person and we take out that cost? I'm expecting to hear that as well. Yes. Because we're in a survival game, and I'm hearing the worst is yet to come.
Yes.
Yeah. So how we responding is what's
because we do HR, how we do HR pro-corona will be different, because if for example, teleworking takes on and continues, as you said, do you need the same HR complement, or will they be doing the same stuff?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
The more the strategic stuff I hear you doing, that's where we have to go. You know? So it's a new game.
New game.
All right. I just we have just 5 minutes more. As you know, we're using Zoom, and I booked the meeting from 9 to 10:30.
That's very good, though. Yes.
So so I want to thank Dr. Ann Crick, who has left, and Dr. Patrick Stirling for coming on here to speak with us today. It's been fascinating. I certainly have learned a lot. I'm not an HR person myself. I'm actually an operations manager. That's something people don't seem to realize. But what I want to tell you, though, that I'm inviting everybody to come back at 12:30 when we'll have our quest number 2, our restoration quest number 2. And we will have meritocracy, ethics, and understanding Jamaican organizational life. Our guests then will be Mrs. Lisa Soares Lewis and Dr. Karen Comerbach. And Mrs. Lewis will be speaking about recruitment, and Dr. Comerbach will be speaking about disabilities in the workplace. So those are topics that I think should fascinate as well. So I'm inviting everybody to come back at 12:30. In the meantime, I'm going to save this MP4 so that I'll get Mitz to help me edit it so that we can put it up on HRD TV.
Please take out my ahs and my ifs and buts.
I didn't hear any of those.
You never hear that? All right. Okay,
so I think applause is necessary for our panelists. We had 2 this morning, and they were excellent. Excellent.
Sorry to be late. Sorry to be late.
Well, it came in just in time, because when you see the video, you'll see that there was a really fascinating conversation that went on while we were waiting for you.
Yeah.
So this has been a success. I am overjoyed. Our first webinar in the HRD program has been phenomenal. It's been phenomenal. The participation that we've had from the persons who've come in. There were people here before me this morning. So, you know, I'm just so thrilled. This augurs well for future practice in the HRD program. Definitely. Because I'd like to thank the Dean's Office, Faculty of Social Sciences, who have facilitated us by lending us their Zoom account. And I would like to thank Stephanie Pinnock, particularly for that. And I'd like to thank Keisha Sherman Howell, who spent Wednesday teaching me how to, or was it Thursday, teaching me how to use Zoom so that we could have this morning. Yes, I'm a neophyte, but I'm sure that you didn't really realize that.
Well,
Keisha was so effective in what she's doing. So, you know, I really have to thank them. They stepped up to the plate. I asked them, and they stepped up. They spoke to me about what was necessary. I realized what I did not know. Coincidentally, I attended a webinar before and learned something. I attended a webinar on Tuesday and saw what I needed to do. And I was able to ask questions, and Keisha was able to help me. So I am pleased with how it has turned out. And as I said, I invite you to come back in 2 hours' time, and we'll have 2 other conversations. And then, of course, we have tomorrow. We have 3 tomorrow. So,
okay. All right.
Yes. So thanks a lot for coming, guys.
Thank you. Welcome. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right.
All right, bye.
Bye.